World War III, aka Operation Desert Storm Part 472, allegedly invented on January 2nd, 2020 by the United States of America when they killed Iranian General Solomon Grundy with one of their patented drone strikes. And now tensions between the two nations are at... Wait, I gotta get this out of the way. Hey, you guys want to know how I avoided the draft? I ran. And now tensions between the two nations are at an all-time high. Rappers are trying to ether an entire country.
Fuck, I ran. Fuck, I ran. Bitch, I'm from Memphis, Afghanistan. Hey, Trump took it out. Trump took it out. Yo, nigga was talking tough. Then he laid his ass down. Now. His body went kablow. Boom. Shot him in his mouth. Hey, you want smoke with us?
Song
Bitch, we got the choppers
kinda
now.
slaps.
And the Iranian parliament is burning American flags and screaming death to America. So how do we get here? Well, it's a long story and I don't know most of it. And you don't care about most of it, so I'll try to quickly summarize it as best I can. A long time ago, Britain and Russia were fucking with the Middle East, a rite of passage for any nation that wants to be considered a world power. The USA, being a nation that wasn't currently fucking with them, became good friends with Iran, and then the USA decided they actually don't like this guy who the Iranian people chose to be in charge. Get him out of here. Very out of character for the US, I know, but trust me, it happened. 4 decades later, the Iranian people decided they actually don't like this guy who the US chose to be in charge. Get him out of here. This revolution was supported by the Soviet Union and also the USA. Relations went south shortly after this revolution and then continued to go south forever. Until 2015 with the Iran nuclear deal when things had a slight uptick. And then dropped back south after that deal was cancelled in 2019. And now here we are, on the brink of war. The quotations are very important here. If you think this is going to grow to a full-on conflict, hundreds of thousands of soldiers trying to dig trenches in sand, fighting for 20 yards worth of land over the course of 12 weeks, you're out of your mind. The USA and Iran in a 1v1 is less of a war and more akin to Deontay Wilder fighting a comatose double amputee. Here's exactly how full conflict that would get. Iran launches some missiles killing random civilians and maybe every now and then hitting a military target. The US hauls some ships from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea. They set up shop right here, and then boom, top 500 Iranian officials are dead, along with 40,000 random civilians, because accuracy and restraint are not wartime philosophies of any nation. And that's best case scenario if it continues to escalate. Worst case Ontario? Tehran joins Hiroshima and Nagasaki on a list you really don't want to be on. The most conflict America would face in this situation would be getting ships from there to here. You need a port from which to take off or launch, whatever the fuck boats do. They'd have to go through Russia to get to Malaklava, Atreyu, or Akte, so those are off limits, which just leaves... oh shit. Okay, well, maybe that plan won't work after all. Anyway though, I've got time to kill and a 10-minute mark to reach, so let's just say this does grow to full-on, boots on the ground, troops in the towns, rocks in the Casbah conflict. 2 participants does not a world war make. You need like 6, minimum. So let's take a look at who we got competing against each other on the red and blue teams. Let's start with the boys who are front and center. Iran on the red side, USA on the blue side. Now I know some of you boomers can feel that. Those repressed Cold War memories starting to act up again, which means that Russia and China are going to be on the red side. And we'll throw in the other 2 members of the Axis of Evil, just to serve as a reminder of the Bush administration. Formidable opponents indeed, but the USA has plenty of allies to call on, some of which may actually still like them enough to answer said call. Canada's ahead of the curve, having already accomplished their customary 1 singular goal per wartime effort. Actually, they scored 4 this time. Most of Europe will probably help out. Germany may have to think about it for a while. They have a lot riding on this. They want to make sure they're on the winning team this time around. You absolutely cannot be the only nation to go 0-3 in world wars. Australia would help out, but they're a bit busy right now. You know all those different types of story conflict, like man versus man versus self, man versus society? Well, Australia, for as long as people have been there, has been a living, breathing, man versus nature experience. And let me tell ya, man's is losing. Africa's kind of all over the place. Each country might as well flip a coin to decide which side they're on. As for Asia, it just depends on how each individual country feels about China to determine which team they'll be on. And South America and the Caribbean are too far away from the conflict to give a shit. Now, as we all know, war is hell. So why exactly would the US go ahead with such drastic action and potentially lead the world into said hell? The explanation coming out of the US camp as to why they went through with this is because the Iranian general was planning imminent and sinister attacks and they moved to stop a war. And apparently he was considered by many to be the world's #1 bad guy. Honestly, it couldn't have been that many. There are more people who think Leffen is the world's #1 bad guy than there are people who even knew who Soul Calibur was before he died. And even then, I think most would agree that a drone strike isn't really warranted against Leffen. Let's really think about this. Stopping a war? Does that sound like the USA you know? A very loose cover-up if you ask me. Nah. Here's the real reason why it happened. After Trump got 49.98% impeached, he was pissed, and he went, "Oh yeah? I'm impeached, am I? Could an impeached president do this?" And threw a dart at a wall covered in foreign officials, and by happenstance it landed on Sullivan. Also, US presidents are like big game hunters. They need an impressive kill to hang on their wall to impress everybody. Bush had Saddam Hussein, Obama had Osama bin Laden, and now Trump has Sully. No, that ISIS guy didn't count. He blew himself up with a suicide vest. That does not go on Trump's score sheet. And now, because of Trump's personal vendetta against every other living human, the draft is coming back. But for some reason, America is half-assing it. Why stop the draft at just men aged 18 to 25? Surely a 28-year-old man could contribute a comparable amount to a 25-year-old man. Plenty of women are already part of the military, so I don't see why they wouldn't be part of the draft. The elderly and children have a stake in this as well. Get them in there too. Yeah, I know. Using child soldiers is a war crime. You know what else is a crime? Murder, and arson, and blowing up a city block. But that happens all the time in war. How come if I make some homemade firebombs, throw them in the apartment complex of the dude my crush is dating, killing him and 11 others, I'm a domestic terrorist, but if you firebomb the entire city of Dresden, you get a medal instead of jail time? How come if I enroll children in an army to kill others with a gun, that's illegal, but if I enroll my child in jujitsu and Muay Thai to kill others with their bare hands, that's a valuable skill and excellent cardiovascular exercise? The rules of war are fucking stupid, which is why I'm campaigning for no war. Not just no war now, no war ever again, because it's fucking dumb. The dividing lines between what is and isn't allowed were drawn by a blind man while speedboating through the Colorado Rapids. Well, that's a soccer team, not a real body of water. You know, I think driving a speedboat through a soccer team would still be a pretty bumpy ride, so the analogy still works. Fuck these rules. War is big dumb. It is for idiots exclusively. People have been fighting wars since when the fuck ever, and I'm sick of it. We have more important things to worry about, like domesticating giant squids and escaping this hellball we call a planet. And the only way we're going to do that is if we eliminate these massive wastes of resources known as armies and wars. Now, listen, granted, I may be kind of stupid, but I'm not naive. I want to do away with war, but we can't do away with conflict. We'd sooner be able to rid the universe of the color blue before we could get rid of the concept of conflict. So what we need is a replacement for war, something different that can be used to settle international disputes. I, for one, think every country should elect their own slapping champion to be their representative in a slapping contest anytime their nations have a disagreement over anything. You're crazy if you don't want to see the Iranian Hulk versus Brock Lesnar in this competition of raw masculinity instead of a boring-ass war. Or maybe you'd prefer something more generic, like the two leaders of the disagreeing nations simply play a game of 21. If America and Iran are going to do that though, you may consider holding off until after the next election. I'm just saying, Bernie's got deadly mobility and accuracy at mid-range, whereas I've never even seen Trump shoot over 30% from the field. Think carefully about this potential World War III. This could be a turning point for humanity. Do you want leaders who use weapons of mass destruction and civilian lives as expendable tools to get what they want? Or do you want leaders who can hit a jump shot from 25 feet out? That's what I thought. And now, a word from some of my patrons. Agrippadarippa. As a fellow Canadian, I'm hoping we can sit this one out. I've been playing too much Shadow Warrior 2, and I'm afraid I'll try to dash around the battlefield with a katana or some shit. Now,
who wants some wang?
It's Kodal. World War III isn't happening. Innocent families in Iran and Iraq are likely going to be killed, however. This decade of the 2020s, let's all work to reject US imperialism just because they think they can steal brown people's oil. Don't listen to the propaganda. Down with US imperialism. Magnum. World War III will be fought with weebs and memes. Josh Strife. If there's anything Dale Gribble taught me, it's that if I'm going to be sent to Iran, I'm going to have a shit ton of sand in all 8 of my army pant pockets, and I'll be virtually unstoppable. Kilogallon. Who's ready to play COD World War III in 10 years? Stalin's mustache. The thing about World War II and World War I is that there were battles of the mustaches, but when looking at World War III, it's going to be battle of the hairdos, which is where I think it's going wrong. The first two World Wars were great because the men had amazing mustaches. The hairdos is just a wrong direction. Short of the message is, this is not a real world war because I don't have sexy mustaches, leading into my next topic of how Hitler's mustache was not a bad guy.